All right. I am stoked for this. All right. So I had this idea. You know, every fall on college campuses across this great country, you know, teams ultimately compete to lift the walnut and bronze to become a national champion. Unfortunately, like in the line in that movie, ultimate classic in my book, Highlander, the original, not the sequels and the TV that really don't rank very highly. There can be only one. But the truth of the matter is that doesn't stop about more than 400 teams in Division III women's soccer from competing day in and day out. In fact, it probably pushes them to achieve excellence in everything they do every day. And regardless of how close or how far they are from being the best, their objective is always the same: to win each day in all their pursuits. British lightweight boxing champion Luke Campbell, once said, every champion was a challenger. So whether you're a champion or a challenger, the path is never easy, full of ups and downs, exuberance and despair. And as that famed sports broadcaster Jim McKay used to say, they all have the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. I've always been interested in watching the process of building teams. I think probably you could sense that in some of most of my simple coach-to-coach interviews. I'm really keen on understanding the hard work, the details, and the commitment of a champion and the ambition of a challenger. So it's led me to this idea that I mentioned, and that's following a team in their journey through the 2022 season and capturing it as best as possible for others to experience. So what is it all about? So every few weeks, I'm going to release a new video capturing where a particular team is at. I'm going to be following this team throughout. I'll review any games that they played, what their slate going forward looks like, and hopefully have some conversations with coaches and players just to capture sort of that ongoing process of trying to build. And my sole objective is to get a closer look at a team working its way through the season. Now, I think if you watch ESPN, it's always about, the finding a champion and, their journey to winning a title or coming darn close. Well, I thought something different and decided that I wasn't going to do that. I was going to try to find a team that I think would be interesting to follow, new coach, sort of youthful team, has all of those things that could lead them to success. And it might not be this year, it might be gradual steps over time. And I think I captured that. So, you're probably asking yourself, what team that is. So, with that, and if you don't know by now by the title of this video, welcome to this first episode of Muskingum Rising. So you might be asking again, maybe I could go into a little bit more detail as to why I chose Muskingum women's soccer to follow. And there were probably a couple of things that definitely made me think that they would be a good team to follow. First of all, they're a young team in the Ohio Athletic Conference. And I actually think this year, half the squad they have will be the freshman class. So, I think that alone is probably going to be interesting because there's a revolution of sorts that's going on where, hey, we're going to get in, we're going to start recruiting heavily, and we're going to start this process of bringing in class after class after class. And I think this is the beginning of that. The second thing is, I'll say, having been on campus, and you could watch the Fields of Dreams that I'll post to this, you do get this really strong sense that Muskingum College has a strong commitment to athletics, and you just look at their facilities. They have a soccer stadium that's dedicated to the soccer programs under the lights. So they won't be playing in the football stadium. They have that. Speaking of the football stadium, they have this brand new health and wellness facility overlooking the football stadium. And I didn't have a chance to go inside, but it is quite impressive. And obviously, I think those are the sorts of things that demonstrate how committed Muskingum College is to their athletic programs. And then lastly, let me just say, Danny Gunderson. I was really impressed with the simple coach-to-coach interview we did, which I'll post somewhere, earlier this year. And I really got a sense that she's got the energy and the excitement and desire to drive the Muskingum women's soccer program to new levels. And part of that is building a team culture, a competitive culture, bringing in players, doing the heavy lifting of recruiting, all of those things that you would look to see that successful programs do quite well. And she's sort of starting that process, I think this is technically her third year, but and so I was impressed with her vision and the clarity which she understands the challenges that await. And I would just say, in terms of the challenges, I looked at last year, and this will be for the next episode before the first game, where I'll look at the schedule and sort of make some predictions, I think. And if you looked at their results last year, they probably lost, if I recall, 5 or 6 games by 1 goal. And so they are already close to turning that tide. And I think that's fun to watch. And then I would just add, and to be quite honest with you, she bought into this whole nutty idea. She was on board from the get-go when I suggested, hey, I have this idea about following you throughout the season, maybe do 6-8 episodes from preseason all the way to the end of the season. And she enthusiastically embraced it and has been supportive of it. So I can't say enough about that. Not sure other programs would be interested in being a little following along and asking for things along the way. So this week the team is moving in, and preseason starts, I think, if I recall, on Friday. And they're literally moving in today, which is August 17th, which I thinking this episode is published. So fortunately, because of this, again, I mentioned Coach Gunderson's commitment to this, and this being the first episode of Muskingum Rising, I actually had a chance to speak with Coach Gunderson about the upcoming season, the incoming class, and some of the things she hopes to accomplish. And I did so last week. So this was recorded, I'm going to say Friday. Yep, this was recorded Friday. So I'm going to spare you all the details and let her run with it. So with that, here is my interview with Coach Gunderson. Coach Gunderson, thank you for joining this very first premiering episode of Muskingum Rising, where I get to take a look and track your season, and really appreciative that you're willing to be supportive of this and coming on here. This is just fantastic. So really, really thankful for that.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
So I got to ask, when's your first practice?
Yeah, our kids will move in on Monday, and we'll get a lot of meetings and things out of the way, and then our first official preseason practice is on Wednesday. I think that's the 17th.
17th. All right. And is it a do you are you going to be doing morning practices or evening practices?
Yeah, so for about 5 days, we'll have a morning session and an evening practice. So we'll go twice a day, and then once our classes start, which is the following Monday, so August 22nd, then we'll just go to once a day practices.
All right, so I have to ask on that first practice of that first day, what's that going to look like?
Yeah, we jump straight into our fitness test, which I know our kids are super excited about. But we'll do that, and then it's mostly just like playing,
Yeah.
small sided, knock the rust off a little bit, get to know, our incoming, get to know our returners, and vice versa, playing wise, and not much thinking, just playing.
Yeah. Very cool. Hey, so I do have to ask you again, shareable and doesn't end up on someone's bulletin board somewhere to pump them up when they play you. But do you have any for this preseason period that you're going into? Again, it's almost like I'm gonna say something, and this is the other thing that's gonna get me in trouble. It's like the first normal preseason in like 2 years or 3 years. It feels like. Do you have any like specific objectives just for just for preseason? What you hope to get out of it? Anything you could share?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for us is to get to know one another. We do have a pretty big incoming class coming in. It's almost half incoming and half returners. So I think it's really working on that culture and that chemistry. So real big thing that we've been talking with my leadership council about is how to do the outside of soccer practice so that they can get to know each other a little bit quicker rather than waiting for that. So I hope to see a lot of good culture changes and a lot of team bonding and building and just like getting along in that atmosphere. And then the soccer side of things, I think a big thing we are trying to focus on this year is, a little bit more on that defensive side early on, and making sure that we are defensively sound. So when we are doing these 2 days, we're looking to making sure that we are a unit. Everyone understands how we want to defend and how we want to, whether we're pressing or if we're sending in a low block, whatever that looks like, so that when we go into our first game, we, can communicate with each other because we have a better understanding of one another and then have a better understanding how we want that to look on the field. So those are really our big, I'd say, top two things that we want to look for when we get into this preseason side.
Yeah. And conversely, like what do you have any concerns like things that you're just sort of mindful of like going into this? Again, I always look at those decisions or those thoughts that you think could turn the team or the program one way or the other.
I don't necessarily think it's concerns. I think it's just taking the time and understanding that we have to have the ability to know that we need to reach out to one another. We can't just let people, you know, go back to their dorms and try to figure things out on their own. With the big group coming in as freshmen, if we don't get them to interact with us quickly, it's going to be a long season. And I think as fall sports, when you only have about 10 days before that first game, our leaders really have to take that on their own side because there's only so much us coaching staff can do because we can only be with them for the amount of time we're at practices, right? Maybe we're doing some team bonding as a group where the coaches are involved, but again, this past summer, this past spring, we talked with our leadership council about this is what we need to do quickly, And, I think these leaders really understand and see the value in it. So I don't really have that concern. I just think we have to keep doing that follow through and making sure that we bring everybody along so that we can get that chemistry early on.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And speaking of your first game, you open up on September 1st against Washington and Jefferson. But I'm going to take a look at the schedule a little bit later. But before then, do you have any scrimmages that you have lined up? Just to, I'm assuming just to see where you're at as under first official like semblance of the game.
Yeah, so we have two scrimmages, both of them being home, which is really nice for us. So we play on the 24th of August. Denison is going to come to us and we'll play against them, which will be really good for us to kind of be a first test because we played them this past spring. And so, Denison is a really good team. And, we saw that this spring, and it'll be nice for us to see how much we've grown in that first scrimmage. And then our second scrimmage is against St. Vincent on August 27th on that Saturday. So that'll be another good one for us. We played them last year. We lost to them last year. So, again, I think both of these two scrimmages are going to help us see how much we've grown either from this past spring, or even if we go a little bit further, the past fall, with all of our new players and even our returners gaining that more experience and being more of the leaders on the field. So super excited about both of those scrimmages and being able to have two before we do get into WNJ because that's going to be a good game for us.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a big. Those scrimmages are so meaningful from so many different angles. It's great to like sort of have the opportunity to dissect and look how you're doing. It's great. I love thinking about sort of what's the importance of that of those types of games. Again, and it's not a win lose thing to me. It ends up being like it looks at your game and okay, how well are are the teammates coming together and working through issues and problems on the field? So
And, they're not like right at the start of our preseason, so we do have, a good amount of practices before that first scrimmage so that our kids can feel more confident with our game plan. So that's always a good thing.
I wish I could be there. I'll just say, for us like junkies, feel free to live stream those. Just saying.
Oh, yeah.
And last question, because I know you're probably super busy. You talked about how you have this large incoming class. Maybe you could talk about them, how you're feeling about them, and probably more importantly, sort of what impact do you think they're going to have, and do you think it's going to be a class that's going to see, for all intents and purposes, a lot of minutes this season?
Yeah, no, I'm super excited about this class. They have been committed to this program throughout the entire summer. They've already started the interactions with the returners throughout the summertime. We have small little core value groups that we use, but this incoming class has really dove into I need to know my teammates so that when we get together, it's not the first time I say hello to them. So that's the thing that I'm most excited about this class is how much they're going to grow our culture, and how much they're going to help us grow with our chemistry on the field. And the added plus, you have a few of them in there that will probably step on the field and push our returners, and raise our game to a whole nother level. So we there's a lot of things to be excited about for this class, but the fact that they've already started helping our culture and helping this program get to where the returners and I want it to be. I'm just excited to kind of see this season come together and see the amount of growth that this program's going to do this fall. So, yeah, and I'm super excited to have them on campus here soon.
I think you just captured exactly why I'm very interested in following you guys through the season, because that to me is the fun part. It's, it's one thing to talk to programs that have sort of years and years and years have been at the elite level, and it's another one to sort of look at how a team sort of makes strides, right? And the challenges, the ups and downs of just sort of getting to a point where you envision the program to be. So really excited for that. Hey, look, I'll let you go. Like I said, I know you're super busy. When I had the chance to visit you out a month ago, I saw all the boxes of all the gear. So I'm sure there's some stuff that needs to be sorted out. So, but thanks again, Coach. We'll be in touch here, and hopefully in a couple weeks, and with the second episode. And looking forward to this season. Woo!
Yeah, looking forward to you following along. It'll be fun. Yeah.
All right, so it was definitely great hearing from Coach Gunderson, and as she's coming into preseason and doing all the things necessary to be totally prepared as the team moves in and they start their routine. And as she mentioned, I think it's going to be interesting to see how the team gels. There's a big cohort of freshmen coming in, and can they assimilate in? Because that's going to be a key to their success, and they're going to be tested early with a pair of scrimmages, right? The 24th against a very good Denison University team, and then on the 27th playing St. Vincent, who they lost to last year by a score of 3-2. So both of those will be good gauges as to see where they're at that point. And both of the scrimmages will be at Muskingum's home field, the North Athletic Turf Stadium. So, and then, like a lot of teams on September 1st, all the preparation is going to have to be done, and they're going to be jumping into the regular season with a road game against Washington and Jefferson. Now, last year they lost 2-1, and I'm wondering if they can't get a favorable result from this game. It's one of the number of games that they lost by 1 goal. But in the next episode, I'll take a look at the schedule, at the entire schedule, some of the games that I think they'll be able to turn the scoreboard around from the previous year, and I don't want to call them predictions, but be able to make a judgment call based on if they could get a result here, what their season's going to look like, and anyhow, just for some just for further thinking about how this is going to go. So before we part ways, definitely want to thank Coach Gunderson, the coaching staff, the team, for allowing me to be a part of this season. Really appreciate them sort of giving me some inside look into how things are going. And then obviously all of you, thanks for watching this first episode of Muskingum Rising. I hope, as I keep doing these, like I said, 6, 7, 8 of these episodes, they'll get better with each time, and I'll figure how this is going to flow, because hopefully it just gets better from here. So until then, see you next time. Thanks for watching Muskingum Rising.